They said it was just a joke. Spend the night in the old apartment, and you win. They laughed as the door shut behind me. The lock clicked, and in that moment silence dropped onto my shoulders, heavy and sticky. Torn wallpaper clung to the walls like skin peeling from a corpse. The air was dense with mold, rust, and something else I couldn't place, like burnt sugar gone sour. Shadows filled the corners as if they were alive, breathing in rhythm with my chest. I told myself it was just a room. Just four walls. Just a dare. Nothing more. But then my eyes landed on the mirror in the corner. The frame was cracked, the glass mottled with dark stains, yet still reflecting. My reflection stared back at me, pale and uncertain, except when I lifted my hand it didn't. For a moment it just stood there, frozen. My throat tightened. I blinked. The reflection followed again as if nothing had happened. My heart whispered, "You imagined it." My brain agreed. But something deeper, something primal, kept insisting, "No, you didn't." I pulled out my phone. No signal. Of course. The battery icon showed 64%. Enough for a flashlight at least. I switched it on and the cone of light cut through the gloom. The walls looked worse in the LED glare, streaks of brown running down like dried blood, graffiti scrawled in strange symbols I didn't recognize. Circles, lines, arrows pointing inward, all leading to the center of the room. My stomach sank. Probably just the idiots before me making the place creepier, I told myself. But the lines looked older, etched into the plaster, not just painted. Like someone had carved them again and again until the walls bled dust. The floor groaned as I moved. Every step echoed as though the apartment stretched far larger than it should have. It was supposed to be a two-room flat, but walking from one corner to another felt wrong. Distances didn't match. The hallway seemed longer when I turned back. And then, from somewhere deeper, a faint creak. Like a hinge. Or a door. Moving. "Hello?" I called, voice trembling more than I wanted. Only silence answered, thick and choking. Then a whisper. So faint I thought it was the wind outside. "Come back." I spun, light flashing across the mirror again. This time, my reflection wasn't alone. Behind me in the glass stood three blurry figures. I whipped around. Nothing. Just peeling walls and dust. My pulse hammered against my ribs. I turned back slowly, forcing myself to look. The mirror was empty again. Just me, wide-eyed, chest rising and falling too fast. It's a trick. My mind's making shapes. That's all. But when I tried the front door again, it didn't budge. My friends had locked it, sure. But why did it feel like something heavier held it shut from the inside? Hours seemed to crawl. My phone ticked down to 52%. I sat against the wall, listening. Every few minutes, something creaked, scratched, or tapped. Pipes maybe. Rats maybe. But always close. At some point, I dozed off. When I woke, my flashlight was off. Battery dead? No, it was still at 48%. But the screen refused to light. It was like the room had swallowed its glow. And then I noticed the mirror again. It had moved. It wasn't in the corner anymore. It stood directly across from me, leaning against the opposite wall. I froze, every nerve screaming to run. I hadn't touched it. No one else was here. And yet it had shifted. In the dim moonlight leaking through the broken blinds, I saw myself in it, but different. My reflection's lips curled upward, stretching into a grin I wasn't making. "Stop it," I whispered, my own voice breaking. The grin widened. I stood, heart racing. "This isn't funny." The reflection tilted its head. I didn't. My knees buckled. The air turned colder, my breath visible in the dark. Suddenly, from behind the mirror, something knocked. A sharp, hollow thud. Once. Twice. Like fists pounding to get out. I stumbled backward, tripping over the uneven floor, landing hard on my elbow. Pain shot up my arm, but I barely felt it. My eyes glued to the glass as the knocking grew louder. Faster. Desperate. And then it stopped. Silence. My reflection leaned closer, until its face pressed against the glass. Its eyes, my eyes, were black pits. I screamed, throwing the nearest thing, a broken chair, at the mirror. The glass shattered into 1,000 shards. They scattered across the floor like glittering teeth. For a moment I felt relief. It was gone. But then the shards began to tremble. One by one they shifted, twitching like insects. They crawled toward each other, clicking, scraping, reforming. Within seconds the pieces had fused again. The mirror stood whole. And the reflection inside it was no longer me. It was someone else. Taller. Thinner. Smiling wider than a human face should. It raised a hand slowly and pointed at me. My chest seized. Every instinct screamed run. But the apartment was wrong. The hallway stretched endlessly when I tried it. The bedroom door I swore was shut now gaped open, showing a darkness too deep, too thick to be normal. I staggered back, breath ragged. The figure in the mirror stepped forward. Closer. Its foot should have hit the glass, but instead the surface rippled like water. A hand began to push through. The walls groaned. Lights flickered. The symbols carved into the plaster glowed faintly, pulsing like veins. And for the first time since stepping inside, I understood. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't abandoned. I hadn't been locked in. I had been offered. The hand pushed further, pale and impossibly thin, its fingers stretched like broken branches. The mirror rippled and groaned as though it were both glass and water at once. I couldn't move. My body was frozen, caught between terror and disbelief. Then the rest of it stepped through. The figure was tall, its head brushing the cracked ceiling. Its limbs were stretched too long, its shoulders hunched, and its mouth, that same impossible grin, cut wider than any human's. Its eyes locked on me. Not eyes, really voids. Endless. Pulling. I staggered backward until my spine hit the wall. My chest rose and fell in short, desperate gasps. What do you want? The words slipped out of me, brittle, almost childish. The creature didn't speak. Instead it mimicked me. My voice came out of its gaping mouth, warped, stretched, wrong. What do you want? I felt my stomach lurch. This wasn't some random monster. It was using me, my own voice, my own face now twisted into something unrecognizable. The apartment seemed to close in tighter. The hallway behind me elongated, swallowing the dim moonlight until there was nothing but darkness. The walls pulsed faintly like veins filled with slow-moving blood. The figure leaned forward. Its neck bent too far, vertebrae cracking like snapped twigs. Then it spoke again. My voice. Come back. The same whisper I had heard earlier. Panic surged through me. I grabbed the door handle, yanking with everything I had. It didn't move. My palms burned as I twisted, kicked, slammed against the wood, but it was useless. The lock wasn't holding it. The apartment itself was. Behind me, the sound of footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Wrong. I turned. The figure wasn't rushing. It didn't need to. It knew I had nowhere to go. My phone buzzed suddenly in my pocket. Relief flooded me. Maybe, somehow, I had signal again. I pulled it out, the screen glowing faintly. But instead of the home screen, only one thing showed. A video feed. It was me. Standing exactly where I stood now. But behind me in the feed were more figures. Dozens. All standing in the shadows of the room surrounding me, though when I looked up, nothing was there. The feed flickered, and then text appeared on the screen. They sent you here. My blood ran cold. The figure stepped closer, its smile stretching wider. My phone buzzed again, the text updating on its own. Not a prank. Betrayed. My throat closed. My so-called friends hadn't locked me in here to laugh. They'd offered me. To this thing. Maybe for fun. Maybe for something worse. But they had known. The creature tilted its head, mirroring the exact shape of my fear. It lifted its long arm and placed one claw-like finger against the wall. The symbols carved into the plaster burned brighter at its touch, glowing red-hot like embers. The air smelled of scorched iron. Something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to sit here, shaking, waiting to be devoured. Stay away. I shouted, my voice cracking. I grabbed the broken chair leg still lying on the floor. My hands shook, but I swung it wildly as the figure leaned closer. The wood passed straight through. No impact. No resistance. It laughed. With my laugh. The mirror rippled again. Behind its surface now was not just one figure, but many. Dozens of grinning faces pressed against the glass, their hands slapping, clawing, desperate to push through. The sound was unbearable, a chorus of nails on metal, glass groaning, voices whispering all at once. And then, one by one, their whispers formed words. They sent you. They sent you. They sent you. I dropped the chair leg. My pulse roared in my ears. My friends? No, not friends anymore. They had done this. And if I didn't find a way out, I was going to vanish here, fed to whatever lived behind the mirror. The figure's hand darted forward, faster than I could blink. It grabbed my wrist, cold and sharp like ice searing my skin. I screamed, pulling back, but it held me. My bones felt like they were splintering beneath its grip. I yanked, twisted, kicked. Nothing. Then I remembered the shards. When I'd smashed the mirror, pieces had scattered before it reformed. Not all of them had been pulled back. Some still lay near the corner, faintly twitching like dying insects. With my free hand I scrambled for one, fingers slicing as I gripped the jagged glass. Pain flared, warm blood dripping instantly. But I didn't care. I slashed at the arm. For the first time the creature hissed. The glass cut through it, not like flesh but like tearing fabric. Its grip faltered and I tore free. The mirror shook violently, faces inside howling in unison. The room itself groaned, walls bending as though the building wanted to collapse. Dust rained from the ceiling. I stumbled backward, clutching the shard like a lifeline. The creature recoiled, dark smoke pouring from the wound I'd carved into its arm. It didn't step forward again. It only smiled wider. "You'll come back," it said perfectly in my voice. Then it retreated, slipping backward into the mirror. The glass rippled once, twice, then stilled. The reflection returned to normal. Just me, broken and trembling. The apartment fell quiet. Too quiet. I dropped the shard, my hand bleeding freely. My breaths came in shallow gasps. For a moment I believed it was over. Maybe I'd survived. But then my phone buzzed again. Another message. "This isn't the end. They're waiting for you." The feed switched, showing not me this time but them, my friends. Sitting in a different room, laughing, drinking, checking their phones. The glow of the mirror flickered behind them. My stomach twisted. This wasn't random. This wasn't chance. They'd known. They'd led me here. They'd offered me like bait. And suddenly, through the haze of terror, something else began to take shape inside me. Not fear. Not despair. Cold, sharp anger. The apartment was silent, but inside me, silence was gone. My chest burned with something sharper than fear, rage. On the cracked phone screen, my so-called friends still laughed, oblivious. The mirror glow behind them pulsed like a hungry heartbeat. They weren't scared. They weren't victims. They were in on it. They sent me here. The memory hit me like a nail to the skull. The way they'd insisted I just go in for 5 minutes. The way they'd locked the door without a second glance. The way their faces didn't flicker with guilt, only amusement. This wasn't betrayal born of panic. It was deliberate. They knew exactly what lived in this apartment. And they thought I would vanish quietly. Not tonight. I pressed my bleeding hand against the wall, smearing red across the old, carved symbols. They pulsed faintly as though blood was the key they'd been waiting for. A low hum built in the floorboards, rattling through my bones. The mirror shivered. Dozens of faces pressed against the glass, grinning, clawing. My reflection stared back at me, pale, wide-eyed but different now. Determined. "You want me?" I hissed. "You can have them instead." The glass quivered. For the first time, the chorus of whispers grew quiet, as if listening. I grabbed the largest shard from the floor, my palm stinging as I gripped it tighter. The jagged edges shimmered with an unnatural glow, like it wasn't just glass but a fragment of the thing itself. My phone buzzed again. Trade accepted. The feed of my friends filled the screen once more. But now the glow behind them intensified. The mirror in their room began to ripple just like mine had. Panic finally touched their faces. One of them, Ethan, noticed first, pointing behind the group. His laughter died, his skin going pale. The others turned, confusion turning to dread. The mirror bulged outward. A hand pressed through. Long, pale. Familiar. They scrambled, chairs crashing, bottles rolling across the floor. "What the hell is that?" someone shouted. I almost laughed. My heart pounded so hard it hurt, but it wasn't fear this time. It was vindication. The reflection being stepped fully into their room, towering, grinning. Their screams echoed through my phone's speaker, jagged and raw. I watched every second. One tried to run for the door, it slammed shut. Another grabbed a lamp to swing, but the thing melted it into slag with a single touch. The third pressed against the wall, sobbing as the grinning void face loomed over them. The whispers bled from my own mirror now, words twisting in unison. "You gave them. We take them." Ethan locked eyes with the phone, with me. His face was a mask of terror. "You did this," he screamed, voice cracking. You set us up." I smiled faintly. For once I didn't need to explain. He was right. One by one, the figures from the mirror pulled themselves through, crowding the apartment where my friends cowered. Their porcelain grins filled the room, hands reaching, clawing. The screams peaked, then muffled, swallowed by static. The feed on my phone went dark, leaving only 2 words. Trade complete. I collapsed to my knees, exhaustion crashing over me. My bloody hand trembled as the shard slipped from my grip. The apartment walls groaned, but the oppressive weight was lifting. The mirror still stood, whole again but calm. Silent. For now. I forced myself to stand, legs shaking. My reflection looked back at me, bruised and broken but alive. Alive and free. but freedom felt hollow. I staggered toward the door, and this time, it opened with a soft click. The hallway stretched before me, empty, untouched, as though nothing had happened. The night air hit me like a wave when I stumbled outside. Cool. Cling. The city around me moved like normal. Traffic, neon signs, laughter spilling from bars. Nobody knew what had happened behind that door. And nobody would ever find them. As I walked away, my phone buzzed one last time. Against every instinct, I looked. A final message. We will wait for you. Always. The reflection in the dark glass of a shop window seemed to grin wider than my own face. I turned the phone off, shoved it deep in my pocket, and didn't look back. Because tonight wasn't about escape. It was about revenge. And I'd won.